you came in. Now, whenever you go to a new city, one of the first things you ask a local is, where's a good place to eat? Well, here in Prince George, the person you want to talk to is Chris Diaz. He reviews restaurants on his blog, Prince Gastronome, and he's here with me now. How are you, Chris?
Good, thank you.
Okay, so tell me about you delving into the Prince George food scene.
Well, first let me cover my back and say I did give the cafe Cooks and Company a positive review.
Oh, you did? That's a good thing. So they let you back in, did they? I had lunch here today. It was lovely.
Oh, yeah, it's fantastic. I wanted to contribute something, and I'm a committed writer, and I wanted to do something that was unique, and I realized no one was doing a blog to cover the local restaurants. Initially, it was very, very short, very quick, just once a week, go do like 200 words covering it, and as time progressed, it got more and more extensive. Thankfully, Yelp has kind of kept my budget down to about 700 words per entry. Otherwise, I go off the deep end and do like 1,000 words.
Okay, so how do the restaurants here in Prince George compare with dining in Vancouver?
Well, they do measure up. That's actually the important thing to take from it. We do actually have fantastic restaurants that I would measure up to some of the better bistros and restaurants in other places in Canada, if not the world. I mean, you'll find a bad restaurant everywhere.
Sure.
And I think it involves the passion of the cook and the owners to present cuisine to attract people. I mean, once again, if you make the cuisine, you put passion to your food, they will come, regardless of how big your town is.
Okay, so do you have sort of top 3 picks? I know you might get in trouble with people after this. Is that a terrible position to put you in?
No, it's interesting. Whenever I get asked that in a public venue, you try to steer away from making definitive recommendations.
Sure.
Last year, like last January, I put out kind of an impromptu award for best restaurant, and I did name the best restaurant as White Goose Bistro. Now, it should be noted, a few months later at the BCNE, we had this great little Iron Chef-like competition where all of these restaurants got together and competed with Bob Bloomer kind of being the MC. And White Bistro won that competition. My second recommendation is Twisted Cork, which was the second place, and my third recommendation was North 54, which is the third place. So just by pure coincidence,
your instincts were spot on.
My top 3 restaurants were also confirmed by this competition.
Now, I knew that you and I were going to be speaking today, and I did ask you if I have one evening to eat in Prince George. Yeah. I went to White Goose last night, and it was phenomenal.
Yeah.
Really phenomenal.
One of the few places in town that do a tasting menu, although North 54 does it now as well, and a few other places might pick up on it. But I love the idea of a tasting menu where you pay a fixed amount, and you're at the whims of the chef. You know, he'll make sure you're not allergic to anything.
Yep, it was a surprise.
It's a surprise.
A very pleasant surprise.
I've had it like 4 times myself. Fantastic.
I have to say. Okay, on the line now from Mission, Danielle. You can see Danielle starting to make plans to move north herself. Danielle, thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you.
Chris Diaz, from a food perspective and just from a lifestyle perspective, what would be your pitch to people to come north to Prince George?
Well, I think one of the things, there's a little bit of a stereotype with smaller towns in Canada that the cuisine you expect, you see Chinese buffets, a few family restaurants, and like a steakhouse. And we have those, but the one element of Prince George, which is something that's unique you see in larger cities, is the variety of cuisine. When you look for Indian cuisine, you go, okay, do you want it from Bangladesh or from Sri Lanka? And you look for, now we have Persian cuisine. And I'd like to see Nepalese or Turkish or Kurdish cuisine come up. But the fact that we already have that variety here, so when something comes in and goes, what's unique, what's interesting? Well, we have not 1 but 2 Persian restaurants. We have Sri Lankan cuisine instead of just normal Indian. And if you ask someone, Indian food, I go, well, do you like coconut milk or not? Because it depends on the region. Same thing with, I like to see that with the Chinese restaurants because most of them do Western. But we do have a couple places that do authentic Chinese cuisine.
So the ethnic diversity here contributes to that restaurant scene.
Oh, yeah.
They're really bringing those authentic tastes to the people.
30 years ago, outside of maybe the Vienna Schnitzel.
How do you remember that?
I remember the fact,
You can't be old enough to remember that.
They've come a long way from the Wiener Schnitzel.
There are restaurants in town that are like 30, 40 years old. They've changed hands 3 or 4 times, but we always look at that one location up at the highway by the old Vino's They always call it the Old Beano's, even though it's changed hands 4 times. They always call it, oh yeah, the Old Beano's location. Well, no, I've seen it all. I mean, I have older siblings, so I know all the names of the old restaurants.
Judy Russell, a final piece of advice to especially young families considering moving to Prince George.
Well, piece of advice. That's don't be looking for mountains and oceans. Be looking for people in a vibrant, warm and welcoming community.
Okay.
It's not about what's out there. It's about what's inside.
Yeah, well, apparently there's a lot out there too. When we're hearing from our hiking expert, the lakes and the trails and that type of thing, and the wildlife. That is amazing. Thank you so much to both of you for being with us here today. Judy Russell and Chris Diaz. We've had a great time over this past hour looking at all of the wonderful things that Prince George has to offer. Thank you for joining us for this special broadcast of BC Almanac. Very special thanks to Books and Company for being our gracious host this afternoon. Thanks to all of you who've joined us here on the phone lines. Thanks to all the people who helped put the show together. Charlie Cho, Andrew Curiata, Matthias Wolfson, Michelle Elliott. Thanks to Tricia Lowe for her help this week as well. Remember, you can always send us your thoughts to our inbox, almanac@cbc.ca. On Twitter, we are at BC Almanac. I'm at CBC Gloria. I'm Gloria Macarenko. Have a great weekend, everyone. We'll talk to you on Monday. Happy 100th birthday, Prince George.